Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel. Hello, Happy New Year! It's the 10th. Like, we're over it.
I honestly so over it, but yes, we are here.
Well, yeah.
Excited to talk about GH. A lot went down.
So before we get started, hello. See, you guys missed us. They're like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. This exactly right here. Thank you for participating in the Gold Star Awards.
Yes, that was awesome.
Like, it made me think of other categories for next year. I didn't write it down. I hope I remember. So I hope it was. But guys, though, Tracy, everyone's favorite character. Lots of votes, guys. Favorite character.
Yes.
Damn, I was
favorite
like,
character of 2024.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, thank you for participating in the Gold Star Awards. And I mean, like, we're back just in time, guys, because it's been a week.
It's totally
been a week.
been
Do we want to say other stuff before we get started about when we're not going to have a podcast again?
Yes. I mean, we can remind also at the end of the podcast, it's just in case people
I'll do it 2 times.
We'll do 2 times. So we, for the first time for me anyways, in over a decade, almost
Same.
2 decades, are going on vacation.
2 decades? Come on.
I've been in a relationship for 16 years. I went on vacation with him the first year, I guess we were together. 16 years.
Okay, guys. So we're going on a family vacation. Like, so not only is it like the first vacation in a really long time, like we're taking a plane. Like, this is the first time the kids are going on a vacation, and it's everybody. It's our dad, brother, us, it's
other
everybody,
children,
lots of kids. So yeah, so we're going on this trip. So we're going to be missing the podcast episode coming out January 25th. So we're going to be here to now. To now.
I really love that. That's how I'm going to enter the office now.
I don't know. I'm like, tonight, tomorrow, it's to now. I don't know. And then next week we'll be here. And then it's just one little time. One little time. We're not going to be
one
here.
Time.
After not being here for a couple little times. So
we don't get paid for this, guys.
Welcome back, us and you. You're choosing this, right? Like, I just want to point that out to everyone. It's not just we're not the only ones.
It drops. Our listeners drop.
It's like we're not the only ones with the problem. You're choosing to engage. Disengage. Okay, so
welcome back.
We're welcome back. Sorry, we're ready. I meant, but so guys, yeah, I mean, damn, like, okay,
wow.
So we knew that the actor playing Michael was leaving. So I actually listened to his podcast. He did a couple. He did one on Maurice Bernard's, and he did one with Stone Cold. No, sorry, shoot, they have a different title now. A Daily Drama.
Yes,
with Bradford and Steve. So like that, I put a link up at some point during the week because he really does talk about like why he's taking like a break. And honestly, you know, you're human, you're easily going to kind of like understand like where he's at in his life.
Oh, yeah.
However, so in the interview, he kind of just says, that's what helped me feel better until I saw today's episode.
But Louise, right?
He had said that it was left open-ended. So clearly the way he parted ways, and I had assumed, you know, okay, you're going to be like in some kind of long-term facility, but he had said, he had just basically said, and I listened to it earlier in the week, that you know, it was left open-ended. And the other thing that was interesting about that conversation was they talked about Sasha and Jason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so Michael actually brings it up as like a potential, and Jason was like, what? Sorry, Steve Burton, they're real people. I know that. and so then he's all like, no, man, no. Like, really? Because then they were joking about the idea of like 2 uncles
Yes.
keeping up two of his girls.
Yes.
And so clearly Steve felt like, no, nothing romantic, but like, who's gonna take care of your baby kind of a deal.
Exactly. That's my mindset as well, is that he was there in that lovely flashback. We know the history of Jason and Michael, and I absolutely see Jason being this like grandpa to this baby.
Yeah, so that was fun. I kind of like just started listening to random episodes that were really fun to watch and just their reaction to things. They do talk a lot about Sasha though. He had 2 episodes with Laura Wright, and they definitely laugh and talk about the insane road Sasha's
Hmm.
been on the show.
Oh, heck
Then
yeah.
one of the episodes with like Laura Wright, they were talking about because they know, right? They know that she's pregnant with Michael's baby, like not obviously in
Hmm.
the show, but like the actors were talking about it. Again, I separate. So so then Laura Wright was saying, like she was giggling, like, oh poor Sasha, because like Carly would want to get her hooks in her, you know what I mean? Like really
Yes.
favoring her like over the whole Willow thing. So it was fun to watch that stuff. And I even caught like an old episode where Jason kind of even talked about his interpretations. It's the episode called Kiss Heard Around the World. His interpretation of the Anna Jason kiss at the compound.
Ooh,
But
okay.
it would be interesting to hear because they recorded that like the day it aired, and
Hmm.
he gave his take on it because he talked about a conversation with the writers trying to understand where this kiss came from, seeing as how these are both people who kind of invite danger into their lives. So, like, why
Yes.
now are they kind of like freaking out? What would be the reason they'd be freaking out?
Hmm.
And so, but I'm just so curious what they think now because it was one thing for that just singular kiss to happen and call it situational, but we've seen what's gone on
Hmm.
then. So like I would be curious if they had a follow-up on the whole Anna Jason thing.
Me
Anyways,
too. Okay, I have to start listening. Back to our podcast,
I know I
ma'am.
was about to be like oopsies. So so this week, so Willow, we as we know, is in DC. So Michael finds out last week. He even sees their picture. This is why I was like dying. I'm like, I don't understand. Okay. I don't
Okay.
understand. This girl leaves. She just leaves
Just
the house.
leaves.
Okay. He lets her take the kid. So we've been under it's so cool though, because like I watched when Michael was born, and
Hmm.
it's so cool to see where these people have landed. Like we tend to talk a lot about it with like Joss, because that is a dynamic where Carly has to be it is confronted with her choices. So it's like we
Yes.
watched all these characters make these choices, but now these choices are being reflected back to them through the eyes of their kids who were not there and who have a
Exactly.
different life and cannot relate. So we always see that clash of past and present with Carly and Joss, and it's been really interesting to watch Michael's life kind of come full circle, to be in this place in his life where he recognizes and acknowledges his trauma, being like, I don't want to put my kids through that fight.
Yeah.
And having that kind of silence Carly, and having even Sonny recognize that what he did was wrong, what he did. So with all of that, I just can't understand how come Willow, like today she acknowledged it, but up until now,
Hmm.
you walked out on Michael. No conversation was had. You allowed your mom to
Done.
send legal documents for a legal separation. You were supposed to see him Christmas morning. Like, I didn't realize that when this happened, you had been like, okay, the family saw the video. Well, that's just a license to sleep with Drew more and harder.
In a bed this time, at least.
I had no idea that that was going on. So that's why I'm like, you don't get to complain though, because you made the steps to leave and things are
Yes.
gray and fuzzy because you opted not to have like a proper conversation with Michael. Like you never ended your marriage to his face. You can't
Nope.
go complaining about him sending you divorce papers at the hotel because you would have slept with you anyway. You didn't need that to do it. You were going to do it.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, like you couldn't even have a conversation with
Oh,
him, and now you're gonna complain and said he could have at least waited till I got back to have this talk. And I'm like, and when did you opt for a talk before legal papers were filed?
but the best part to me was she's all torn up and they're like bashing Michael and how dare he. She's got her big, fat, shiny, gorgeous
Love
wedding ring on, through
it.
all of the love
I have a
making, all
picture.
of the hugging. I'm like, are you for real?
I have a
Why?
picture because I was like, I know you see it. I have a picture clear as day. The ring is in front of your face. I know you see it. So I like, but not only that, like Wiley's just in his hotel room by
Yeah,
himself.
yeah. I guess so. A room over, apparently. Apparently, it's like a giant suite, and he has his
He's,
own bedroom.
I have to get back, or like he'll notice that like I'm gone. I'm like, is there anyone else? Is there, did you travel with? But like to me, what I found hilarious was like she has these two kids, and I get it, Amelia's young, but like you took the kid that was the most Michaels,
Right? Come
and was like,
on.
come with me to go see my lover. And I just the fact that you wouldn't even tell him. So like one, you were gonna take the kids without telling him.
Yeah.
And then you decided, like this is the part that I cannot wrap my head around. Why is Willow acting like she's the first person to get a divorce or
I
to separate?
know.
Like you're going to sit here and act like you don't know any other couples that like co-parent, like as, as in Sunny and everyone, like,
Like literally everyone in the circle.
everyone. And so this is what I can't wrap my head around. You're like, "Oh, Michael knows I slept with Drew. He's such a villain and a horrible person. Just know this and wait till after the holidays to talk to me about it, just like I was. So I'm going to leave. And now that I've decided to leave, it means the kids, I'm a single mom now. And they don't get to be with Michael. Like, I
Michael
don't
no longer
understand.
exists.
Like, that's what I couldn't understand. I'm like, I don't get it. You and Michael is so separate from the kids, and I don't understand why the impulse is like shared custody. Like you're both fine people. You know what I mean? Like you're not horrible humans. You like Willow's
Yes.
doing some crazy stuff, but on the whole, they're
Oof.
pretty healthy people. And so I don't see why one person would have them over the other. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
what about why would that even make sense? Like how would you justify this? And that's what I can't wrap my head around is why the moment things blew up in her romantic life, she was like, well, I don't know. I guess I'll have to do with what everyone does. Like, I'll just take them. They're mine. And that's it. Like, what?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, let me tell you. I did not see it going in that direction. But it's just that, like, the doe eyed, the
Ew.
Drew feeding in to everything she's saying. Like, I know he's supposed to be a bad guy, but the direction and the
No,
turn this
he's
is all
nailing it
taking.
now. No,
Yeah,
I
he is.
think
He really is.
he, like, they were telling us, but now they're showing us. So you don't need to tell
Yes.
us anymore. And with him, he's like so manipulative. He's like, oh my gosh, first Michael takes my company. Now
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
kids. And I'm like, because that's the same.
Wow,
Because that's the
wow.
same thing. And you hold the same significance to Michael. Like you slept with his wife. And I love it. They're like, wow, I can't believe it. How dare he try to take these kids? I'm like, you took the kids. You took the kids to Nina.
You,
And one of
yeah.
them's in a room over that you also left, that you can't stay with. Like you want these kids so bad, but you can't stay in the room with Wiley and keep your pants on, and you can't, and you left Amelia back there. This is why you want shared custody, so you can leave the kids, so you can go on dates.
Pretty much.
Oh, and this killed me. I'm like, what's wrong in the brain? So like she's talking with like Drew after the like whole divorce thing, and
Hmm.
she's like, Drew, this is what I like about it. You tell me the hard truths. I'm like, the hard
You've
truth
got
he
to be
told
kidding
you
me.
was when he just said, you're in for a fight. That was it. That was it. He just kind of acknowledged it's a bad situation. And she's like, wow, the hard
This guy
truth. You
knows
don't hide it
things.
from me. Like, I can take things. Meanwhile, today she's run, Drew, help. Nina didn't finish her sentence, but I'm running to you for help. Help me. Like, I was just so annoying. And the fact that they like, okay, and so while they're having this conversation, I was actually fascinated by Michael's conversation with Sunny.
Wasn't it amazing? Like him just kind of breaking things down. And I think we touched on that a little bit too, just her pattern and who
Mhm.
she is as a person and chooses as a partner. But I love how they're really putting the spotlight on it.
Oh my gosh. Not only putting the spotlight on it, I just can't believe how precise and how targeted and how they really, really did use all of her story to get here.
Oh
It's freaking
yeah,
amazing
I
because
agree.
it's like with Chase or any other character, like when you're so goody goody, those people who don't seem to, like, she's really extreme. We have sometimes those extreme villains, but she's
Hmm.
on the other end of being such a saint and being the one everyone's seeking forgiveness and trying to live up to, but that's also another extreme, and it's not human and it's not relatable.
Yes.
And so it's so cool to have them use everything that's actually happened because it makes complete sense for her story. It's just incredible. And I've talked about that. Okay, so let me ask you this. I've asked you this
Hmm.
for like a few podcasts now, but do you feel settled? Do you feel like the show is settling?
I do. This week, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few things that popped up to me. So I definitely the nostalgia piece, right? So I had talked a lot about that, like how I feel like they're really drawing on like past relationships and maybe past
Hmm.
relationships that have not necessarily been capitalized. So you do have Willow there and you do have this interesting past that she has, and they're really capitalizing on that. Before the
Yes.
holidays, we saw Jocelyn and Christina together. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Cause like in the past, we always wanted more. Like we wanted
Yes.
characters that naturally we know in the background would be connecting, but we're not getting to see it. And we did get to see this one moment. And to be honest, it wasn't many, but it was one. It was one moment after Christina got out of the cult that she was having this moment with Jocelyn. And so it's
Yes.
kind of interesting paralleling the time Christina gets out of a cult and Joss recently losing her boyfriend, and they were together watching the nurses ball. And now
Yes.
once again both of them are finding themselves in really tough times and reconnecting.
Yes.
And so I was interested in the fact that Joss is circling back into this sort of orbit of Christina at a very interesting time, being on the outs with Molly and them working through that complicated relationship, and the fact that Sam has passed. What does that
Yes.
mean? You know what I mean? Because they solidified their sisterhood when she had fallen out of the window, saying, "That's my sister."
Hmm.
And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Because when this whole Michael thing is going down, Christina is there, Joss is there, but I'm like, what does this mean? Like, we're not seeing a lot. We're slowly seeing people find out, but I'm like curious because this, if anything, would draw them really close together. So I feel like they're definitely playing on that.
I got this as you were talking,
Mhm.
and as I watched this week, and there were some really kind of um, dark moments during the week. There's a moment where Joss is cleaning out Dex's apartment and
Mhm.
she finds this gun. And then you see Christina struggling with her strength and how to find the strength to see Michael. You hear about Sunny trying to either find a replacement or go into the mob. Like I
Can we
can
pause for a second?
visualize. Yes.
We've talked about the idea of like, it's a soap opera, it's a generational show. We've talked about someone taking over. How did you feel? Because even though, you're waiting, it's an inevitable moment. What on earth was it like to actually witness the moment, the episode? This is actually being talked about. Like, to me, it was huge. Having Sunny say the words, "I need to retire." What? After, like, we know we knew he wasn't going to do it forever, but I don't know. For me, that was monumental. And what was it like for you to actually be here? We talk about it, but we're here.
Oh, it was massive. Like my jaw was on the floor because
Mhm.
you know it's coming. You know that one day it's going to come. You don't know
One
how
day.
that conversation is going to happen. But like you said, we're seeing all these different things come. So you're like jaws on the floor, but then there's also these visuals, that we've talked about of a possible Christina stepping up. We've talked about
Yeah.
jokingly, what does that look like if Joss steps up? What does it look
Yes.
like when Joss takes Dex's gun and Christina finds her, but also knows who did it and they commit this crime together? Like, what happens as the story evolves and grows with the dark parts of them and this changing mob world?
Okay, so why this is so like significant. And yes, we have talked individually about each, but the interesting other piece to it is the concept that like Joss is carrying the legacy of Jax a little bit,
Hmm.
and Christina's carrying the legacy of Sunny. Did I say
Hmm.
Christina? Yeah. Um And so I kind of love that you create a story around like Christina and Joss stepping up because like if anybody is going to shake Christina to get it together and to live up to all the things Michael told you, it's going to be under these circumstances and it's going to be with Joss. Michael is a huge figure in both of their lives. Like Jocelyn has a lot of support, but Michael has always like we've seen scenes obviously where he's there for her and we've seen that go
Hmm.
down, but Michael is like that invisible structure anchor that keeps
Yeah.
her safe and moving around the world. And to not have that, like she's strong, yes, but we talk about how she grew up in a different world than Carly did, where she's great.
Yes.
She has the family that she has. Joss was born into a lot of loyalty and love, but like Michael is a significant piece to that. And so is Michael for Christina.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to what does that mean because I think it's significant, right? Because symbolically, this is a Jackson, a Sunny potentially coming together, and I would definitely love to see the coming together because I wasn't sure. I really did not know what to make of like the whole Jocelyn Brennan thing because they're clearly starting something there. We got more information this week for sure, but
Yes.
when I saw like the gun and all that, like I didn't know what to think because I just assumed okay, maybe Christina when they're talking about the retirement cuz like Sunny said, we don't have anyone. But then I'm wondering
Hmm.
what is Christina thinking because she's judged, Sunny's world, she's not wrong for being like that's wrong
Yeah.
you do, but she also is starting to see that like, Dex changes life and for what? It all ends at some point. It's like, does
Exactly.
that put the rules all away and be like, kinda do whatever in this sense? So I didn't know where her head was at and what she was willing to do with that gun. It was kinda scary because 'cause I'm staring at this, I'm like, "This girl doesn't know what she's doing. Like, what are you doing?"
Exactly.
But then I was worried I was just like, I hope it's Christina that steps in there because I cannot I want a scene of them together. Like, because when
Me
I
too.
knew that Christina was at the hospital and like Joss was around, I'm like, you two need to get together. I mean, I thought this at Christmas. You two need to pair together and rip Willow apart together, but clearly Jocelyn didn't need any help on that front.
No,
But
she did not.
I prefer Christina because I was worried that if Joss went down the wrong path, it would be like Emma. And I don't know how I feel about that.
In what sense?
Well, we could see that Emma's like on a path
Hmm.
and getting into trouble. And so
Yes.
initially, up until today's episode, I kind of worried like, is this the path that she's going down that's a bit off? Is like Emma going to be some weird partner in crime and like a bad influence? But from what I saw of today's episode, the fact that like Felicia finally remembered the bells and
Yes.
how fast that happened, it was Brendan wasn't just doing her a favor and like helping. Notice
Hmm.
that he's guiding her on how to be a spy and how to
Oh,
interrogate and how to do
100%.
those things because Johnny
Yes.
kept saying, "I want her to be a spy," because that's what I thought was going on at Christmas when he was visiting. That he was sort of implying that that's sort of the clue for where Joss was going to go.
Well, exactly, that big conversation about the world and how, what impact you can have and how one person can create change. Like, it was
Well
big.
well, it's because, like, how long are they gonna keep Joss as a student? Like, look at the
Well,
role
right?
she takes in the soap opera, and, like, I feel like at some point she's gonna like, even Trina, like, Trina's gonna work in a gallery. We just found out today that Ava was trying to expand the gallery. So it's like, I don't know how long they're gonna keep those 2 girls as students before they flip
Exactly.
into something. So it's interesting to see what that is and what side they fall, and if Jocelyn and Christina will always hold a loyalty to each other and kind of start this different future based on an interesting origin story of their
Ooh,
fathers.
I love it
So
so much.
like there's a lot of interesting stuff going down with Joss. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And so Michael is with his dad, just kind of really analyzing his whole deal with Willow, acknowledging that she searches for a hero, acknowledging that perhaps how him and Willow came to be wasn't just sort of this one time thing and that there's more of a pattern going on. I was stunned.
Same. I was like, wow, really break it down, Michael. I love it.
Yeah, and then, like so when those scenes were happening and, like, they're having this intimate scene and they're hugging, I was like, "Oh, I wonder if this is one of their last scenes," because we knew the character was leaving, we just didn't really know how, and then,
Yes.
like, I accidentally stumbled upon, like, a bit of a preview, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no," because I didn't know who was in the
Hmm.
fire, but I figured. Um, so they're having this talk, and Michael confesses that, like, again, these two, if they had just talked,
I know,
you know
I
what I
know.
mean? Even if you don't know what you want to do with your relationship, I just wish somebody had spoken and been like, let's just do 50-50 on the custody. So he tells his dad it's a tactic, you know, and his dad's like, well, trust Diane, just do it this way and then like share. So then the moment Jason walked in and stepped out of that apartment with Sunny, I was like, okay,
Mm,
okay, what was it like for you?
I honestly, like, it's because you messaged me at night, so I was a little bit vexed that you're like, Mal, if you're gonna did you watch today?
No,
Make sure that you have time to watch something else
it's
afterwards. So I was like,
because
oh, holy Toledo. I know who I
I
am, and I'm happy for the warning.
because you I figured it's late, you may have already watched it, and I had just watched it and I was so traumatized. The hearing Michael scream, it's
That,
one thing.
exactly that.
It was one thing when at first I'm like, Sunny and Jason, but then hearing Michael scream, I really had to be telling myself, like, okay, Michael's not in that suit. It's a stunt person. Why did we have to see these visuals? It's like afterwards I was freaking out. I'm like, they've had explosions before. And then it's like you pan back and he's on the floor passed out, maybe some soot on his face, and you're like, oh
Yes.
no, coma. And you leave it at that. But that visual is jarring. I'm like, I don't think I've ever, like, we've had explosions before, but I don't think I've ever seen such a graphic scene like that before.
No, I don't even watch action movies. Everything is like rom-com, has to have bubbly, happy endings,
Oh
like
man.
that. So when, yeah, it was very,
Oh
um,
yeah. So when we were talking and I had just watched that and I realized you didn't see it and you go, I'm gonna head to bed and it was late
yeah.
and I'm gonna watch it. I was like, oh
Oh
no.
goodness.
And that's why I just said, I'm like, make sure you have time to watch something else. I'm like, you can't go to bed after that.
No, and I'm grateful that we messaged that night because exactly that. I was all cozied up in bed. I put on the tablet, and I very much was not expecting that to unfold in the way they did. Like you said, it's more like, okay, yes, we've seen explosions, but it was just every part of it. Like, we're parents. Like, every part of that hurt and was difficult to watch. And hearing his voice and seeing their all of their eyes, like that was really difficult.
Okay, be real. Speaking of parents,
Jason
Sunny
is the only
and
parent. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Well, I mean, no, Carly too.
I'm
Carly
kidding.
too.
I'm
I
kidding.
definitely, but it was just because, Sunny was freaking out and Jason protected Sunny, but it was just you could see the pain in Jason's face in that moment. Like Michael is really special to all three of them. Like
Yes, of
Michael is
course.
is a child that Jason gave to Sunny. Like Jason,
Yes.
like I remember that, I remember when Michael was born and Carly had postpartum and left Michael with Jason and that whole thing. And, you know, that's what was also fun too, is like when you watch the daily drama episodes and like Laura Wright happens to be on it, you could tell how much fun they have dissecting the Sunny Carly Jason dynamic.
Mhm.
And I love how they talk about it because they're like, no one's saying it's healthy. It's just what is. And they talk about how they live it and experience it. And it's really sweet because there's ones with Steve Burton and he talks about with Carly, people say like he has to be there or whatever the reasons. He's like, no, he gets to be there for her. And he talks about like what
Oh.
what the Carly character means for the Jason character. Anyways, something we never got to say out. Um but it's just that Michael, like when you think about and you listen to those things about how significant those three were to each other, you know, Michael is a huge part of them that helped them grow and become these like grown-ups and think beyond themselves. And I just feel like Michael was a first child to all of them. And there is a special family that exists with them and with Michael as parents, but like Jason broke my heart, like, when he went in there and his face, and just what Michael means to him. And it's just even today's episode when you're hearing everyone talk about who Michael was, it's like you never really stop and think about that. Like now that Michael is in this position, we're getting all these
Mhm.
perspectives. And when we talk about in terms of like the new writing and the nostalgia, like where you see that a lot was like like Alexis, so right now you
Hmm.
think generational. So now they're talking, well, who is Michael Tamale? We have to kind of set that stage because those characters actually had a really, really strong bond going up. And I was so
Yes.
happy they brought it up because sometimes like I flash back because when they had that writer strike and they were rewriting old episodes, I remember when
Yes.
they were like replaying the ones where all the kids rallied together. So like they were so little. So like Molly, Christina, Morgan, they all just stop and they sneak into the courtroom when Michael got sentenced to jail, and all of those kids like told off Dante for and it was like they were really tight and they spent a lot of time together. So I feel like as a generational soap, when you're moving forward, I really see how they're going deep and really drawing on these things that always existed, and I feel building on those. So I do have to say, like, I am really grateful for those parts where they are going back to some really important things, and just kind of that's what I see that they're doing. They're just making space for story that was already there and adding to it. And but even like, but I don't like how Drew does it though. Can I just say that? Ugh, like who are you, Drew? You have Jason memories, and honestly, it's one thing for the nostalgia to come out in these characters where you saw the original story that they're building on, but I am
Hmm.
getting a little sick of Drew quoting the Quartermain history. Like, enough,
Right?
please. The crap he like bringing up AJ to Carly, bringing up Lois to Ned, bringing up
Ugh.
Tracy's husbands. I'm like, zip it. Now I know why they don't like you because that is what makes you not a real Quartermain. When you're quoting Jason's memories to them, it's gonna gonna make them angry. You're not a part of this. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so we're seeing all of that, and like when Jason's there and they're trying to get Michael help, because for me, I'm like, what is Jason gonna do? Like he's freaking on fire. And
Right?
thankfully Jason didn't know what to do because I'm just screaming, stop, drop, and roll. It's what you
Same,
learned as a
same.
child. And so at this point I'm feeling so uneasy because you're seeing these scenes happen, and I'm really uncomfortable with the fact that Carly's just at a restaurant and just
Dinner,
sitting there and
yeah.
doesn't know. Also, what did you think about the overlay of like Michael and Willow and Drew together?
Before I get into that, I just want to
Hmm.
say that since Steve has gotten back,
Hmm.
they really gave him the liberties, or maybe he's taking these liberties. Like the way that he's acting, you see that he's really acting with his heart, and
Hmm.
that he is really valuing his time back, and he's so appreciative to be back. Like you said, like we see so much in his eyes. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue. It's Jason, and he never did. But I find like in the way he moves physically, the emotions on his face, like he is just doing such an amazing job since he's back. He's never been a bad actor. He always
No,
fit into the mold of what his character is. But I love this like aging growth of Jason in Port Charles.
but that's the thing though. His character was always silent, but even in that silence, we can see him grow. We can see him value
Yes.
it differently. Like we know that when he became Jason Morgan, he cut off his family, but his memory never came back. But as he could lived life and had his own kids, or with Michael, he started to understand his parents' perspective, and he would understand his parents' perspective even more today than he did when he started to reconnect with
Hmm.
Monica. So I think there's that. And like I would love to hear a conversation about what it was like to film those scenes, because they even had a podcast where they talked about, what it was like doing the scenes with Sam, like, having to
Oh
warn her. He
yeah.
was like, I had no idea. And he talked about like how he navigated that. But I feel like with Michael, I think, yes, he's definitely emoting more and all that stuff. But I think the decision to do it that way is truly a reflection of the depth of love he had for his first family. And that first family was Carly and it was Jason. I mean, sorry,
Oh
Michael.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
do think that like that is, it's jam packed of history. They even showed a flashback, and for me, I'm like, there were
Yeah.
so many. There were so many of scenes with him and Michael, but yeah, and it was short, and I wish it was like a little bit more. I kind of expected more of that, but the fact that they did
Same.
that was already like it was significant. So Carly kind of overhears something and freaks out already, and then decides to run to the hospital. So like I was like dreading that moment as she's like happy and like that they're okay, and then starts to ask questions. And like, look, I'll be honest. Drew said what he said when he said the word again. Because when I was thinking this, when I was watching the Carly, Sunny, Jason scenes, it's like Jason feels horrible.
Yes.
We learned that when Sonny, died in air quotes in Nixon Falls, it was that funeral that let us know that Jason had been carrying this guilt for the life he dragged Carly in. No
Yes.
idea, no idea that it was like a weight he carried. And much less when it comes to Michael. And so when Carly walks in, it's like Sonny just looks like a little boy who got caught like crap, this happened again.
Hmm.
Jason feels horrible, but they both didn't know what to say or how to kind of own up to that because I feel like I mean, look, I really don't like it was hard for me to watch the conversation with Drew. The
Yes.
choice to have that conversation, the fact that he thought that he was entitled to have it, as if his like less than a year of dating Carly even justified. Like you have Jason's memories, that's it. But in terms of your time as Drew with Carly and your relationship with her, like who were you to have that, to say and have that conversation you did with Carly? That's you being a Nina. You are not entitled
100%.
to have that deep conversation, especially in the way that you show your value of family. But that's heavy. You're in that scene and they all know, not being able to look
Yeah.
at her, g- trouble getting the words out, saying it and feeling disgusted. And what's interesting about this time is that those two guys are like, we're getting out.
Yes.
Like we
Yes.
have, and like the fact that when Jason went back to the penthouse with Sunny and he's like, no, we have to focus on our exit strategy. Like, we can't do this. And he's like, I'm not having this
Hmm.
happen to Danny. It was crazy to me to watch this happen. So it's sort of like we came this far. We
Yes.
didn't think we'd have to face something like this again. But the point is, they're standing on the foundation of every decision they've ever made and they know it.
Oh, yeah. Big
I
time.
just didn't want Drew to be a part of that depth, And so that's what was hard because when Carly said, "Of course they were targeting you." And how could this happen? And I honestly thought she was going to use the word again, but the fact that they
Mm.
chose to save that word and they gave it to Drew.
Mm. I was fuming.
I mean, look,
I
I
know it's
felt
fact.
no, but it's just like I like if because that's the thing, they chose to use it in this aggravating way and that's fine, like we see the story being set up, there's two camps, it's them versus them, you know what I mean, like Drew versus like Carly and everybody. um but yeah, there could have also been a choice because now they're adding drama to it, really, they're really truly adding fuel to the fire. This is not one of those moments where there's a tragedy and then they deal with the tragedy. This is like tragedy and ugliness. It's basically we're back to Nina times.
Oh,
Even though
yeah. Big
Nina is
time.
being the least Nina. Like Nina
It's
is being
wild.
the least Nina. Drew and Willow are being the most Nina. But I haven't
Yes.
felt this way since Nina was Ninaing.
Yes.
So like if there wasn't the ugliness, if there wasn't this sort of like relational like counterattack, then the again would have been Carly's and them. Then it would have been going down that road of like having to face and deal with that because that was also there. And it's a reality, like the stuff Drew was saying, it's like it's hard, you think about Morgan, you think about Michael's coma, like it's hard. And the fact that like Drew was like, I'm gonna come in here, like Curtis told you to leave, like yay Curtis this week. I can't believe I'm saying it,
I
but yay Curtis
know.
this week.
Like, he went in one, the chapel,
Hmm.
to tear her down when she doesn't know if her son's going to live or die and try to act like the most ethical person in the room and that she doesn't already know or think about all the decisions that she's made to come to this point. Like, I wanted to punch him in the face.
So that's the thing though. Like I know he tore her down, but what he was truly trying to do is build himself back up and keep himself together. Because that's the gross part. Him and Willow right now, they're not even letting any space to recognize that what they did was crappy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's sort of the difference. There's plenty of people who do things and know that they're doing bad things and choose to do bad things. That's what drove me nuts about Nina. It's like pick a lane, own what you're doing. Like sometimes if
exactly.
you want to do something selfish, go on and you're doing it,
Do
whatever.
it, own
but
it.
but don't exactly own it. And I feel like with Drew right now, he won't acknowledge. He's like, we're family, this is him. He is such a knockoff Quartermain. Now I see what
Yes.
Tracy sees because he's like, I banged your wife, But family's family. It's like, no, dude,
No,
no.
dude,
And the
no.
timing and everything. And then like when Curtis is talking to him, he's like, well, I just want to talk to Michael. So if you think Michael could be like dying and he has limited energy, why on earth do you think you feel entitled to any of it? And it shouldn't go to, I don't know, his wife. Like if he had to pick and choose, you're the last person he'd want to talk to. If he had the choice, right? He'd probably choose to talk to Willow. And so I just thought it was so gross because he dodges any dose of reality, right?
Oh
Any
yeah, big time.
He's holding on to like the identity he once had. And I think that's what's really interesting about Willow because we're with her. I think it's so cool using her history because it does equal here. It does.
Absolutely, it does.
Um, and that's life. Life happens and it happened to Willow. And the thing is, it's like Michael didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like that's what was interesting. Like, and I was having this talk with Johnny. Like, Michael was saying, like, I didn't know things were bad. And that's the point, because I'm like, because Michael, they weren't bad.
Yes,
It's not about that.
exactly.
This was a Willow crisis. Willow was in crisis. Willow was questioning things, and Willow didn't handle her stuff. It wasn't Michael, and she won't own any of it. And it's really interesting. So this is the person, like, months ago, she said, "Am I the kind of wife that cheats on her husband?" Yeah, many of them.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and then like when Lucas told her off, she's sitting there being like, "Oh my gosh, like he said that to like me?" Like she was so shocked that
Yes.
these things are being said about her, because in her mind she's a saint, she's untouchable, she's Willow. This is all the stuff Nina used to hate about her.
Yes.
And it's so weird to see it, because this is the glimpse of Willow that Nina didn't like. And so I'm sitting there and it's so fascinating to watch Willow hold on to her perspective of herself, regardless of what she's doing, and the disconnect. Because that's what she's walking around. She's walking around like old Willow, having done these new things, and is really not understanding Jocelyn. She's like, she finds out this news, like she's so out of it, because even Martin, it was so funny. It
Oh
was
yeah.
so funny, that phone call. He's like, "Where are you?" She's like, "DC." "No, I didn't tell my husband where I was going. I just sort of left. You remember, because I cheated and I walked out, and I want to be with my lover, so I get to make all the choice." That's how it goes. And
So
so
weird.
she's just off her rocker, like, don't even understand, like, she
Ugh.
feels, that's what I mean, like, she feels so protected because Chase had made her feel protected, Michael had made her feel protected. Like, I think it's so awesome. I think it's just phenomenal in the way that, like, initially Willow was just so uncomfortable with Michael's money
Yeah.
and what he could offer her. She wanted to
Mhm.
make her own way, and she did. She did, all the way to Drew's bed. It's incredible. She's so comfortable now. Michael made her so comfortable. And she won't take anything less. She's like, "I met Michael. I guess I'll stick with the Quartermains because I don't know any other rich people in town." And,
Oh
and
jeez.
it's just incredible to watch her go, like, "I'm gonna go see Michael." And then when like they're trying to stop her because they understand, like, Nina's freaking out, she's talking to
Oh
Curtis about
yeah.
them and stuff.
Oof.
And I thought it would be even better if Nina did like leak to the press, as
I
Curtis
know. Like
wanted her to do. I'm like, that's kind of fun, actually, that it came from her own camp. But when she's there, she's like, "No, like, this is insane. Like, I'm like, how am I going to explain to my kids that instead of going to see their father, I was negotiating with a lawyer?" I'm like, how are you going to, while he was in a hospital
how?
bed? I'm like, but how are you going to explain to your kids that while your daddy was getting burnt, I was banging his uncle and you guys were left alone in another hotel room? That's okay.
Exactly.
Like, it was just so
Apparently.
baffling watching what she chose to remember and not remember. Like, again, remember, Michael gave her the kids and then she was freaking out because they were telling her, "He's going to take your kids." It's like, but he gave her the kids. And then today she had all these nice things to say about him. And she's like, after everything she did, the weekend she came back from, she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna rush to the hospital. He's still my husband. I mean, I love him. Everybody must know I'm a good person who still loves them." I'm like, what?
I
And the whole
cannot.
justification, like, me and Willow love each other. He's like, it's kind of like, it's just gross, right? Like, I know Willow's not a teenager, but he's like telling Carly, "I'm so much happier with Willow." She's like, "Oh
It's
my
so
God, like,
gross. It's
is that
so
supposed to
gross.
hurt me? Like, good for you. Good for you. You're okay with that tween. Like, I don't know what to say to you. Congratulations." Oh my gosh. And like, I loved it. Like, when Joss found out, because that was interesting
Oh,
to me when Diane showed up
yes.
and I liked the dialogue when Dan's like, we need cooler heads, and Carly's like, I'm listening. Like when she knows she has to do something, she'll do it. But what did you think when Jaws bumped into Willow in the hallway?
No, but like you read my mind. You made that post. Everybody agree with you. It was like such a popular post this week. She was the audience. She said everything we
Mhm.
want to say to her. She broke it
Everything.
down so beautifully. I was killing, like, I was laughing because I think it was like you having a conversation with somebody and they're like, I don't remember the last time I heard Skank on daytime TV.
No, but like, I'm not joking. I was taking a walk today and I was thinking to myself, I don't remember the last time I heard those kinds of words used on TV. And I'm like, that was amazing. I'm like, she said skank. Like, because I took a couple clips like from it. And even me today, I'm like, it was so satisfying. I've watched the clip I posted over and over because watching Jaws go after her so masterfully was amazing. Because okay,
Yes.
that's the thing too this week about Jocelyn is that, with the new writers and everything they're doing, I was like, okay, obviously something's going on with Joss, like something big's about to happen. You got
Hmm.
Brennan and her being put together. There's this whole conversation about who Joss is. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So I guess we're just, maybe verbally cementing like what we think. And then Carly's saying she's more me than me. She's more Carly than me.
Yes.
I was like, is she now? Okay. So it's just really interesting because they were taking the time to kind of set her up. And people also remember this. And that's all I kept thinking. Like, Joss took down Nell, right? Nell and Joss had a physical fight.
Hmm.
And this fight with Willow, I was just like, damn, like she took down both the sisters. But everything she said, like calling her on everything, the cheating, the fact that like Willow won't stop saying, I love him. It's so complicated. And then she tried to compare herself to Jocelyn. This is what kills
I
me.
could not.
Jocelyn is like way younger. This girl is like her early 20s, and Willow is basically a mom of two at a completely different stage in her life. And you're trying to
Hmm.
compare, like Nina did this. So the thing is, like, Nina has known Jocelyn for quite a long time. Like, Nina knew Jocelyn when she was in high school dating Jax. And so a lot of the times is why she kind
Dating
of
who, sorry? Oh, when she
dating
was dating,
Jax.
sorry,
Yeah,
when
she was
Nina was
dating
dating Jack.
Jax.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Nina was in Jocelyn's life. Jocelyn liked her.
Yes.
And then when the whole Sunny thing happened, that's sort of why she had kind of like afforded, you know, she afforded Joss a little bit of room. But I was
Hmm.
surprised even then because she was still in high school, the way Nina would go after her. Because I remember Jocelyn had a journal that she had given her and she
Yes.
tossed it back at her. So remember, Jocelyn's like a teenager and you dated her dad and you leave her dad for like Sunny and all of this really crazy stuff you've done. But then because of her feud with Carly, she really started to treat Jocelyn and talk to her like an adult. And I always thought that was a
Yes.
bit odd that Nina felt. I mean, look, Jocelyn held her own, but she was like literally a teenager. And that's how I
Hmm.
see it. Joss is still one of the characters younger and below Willow. And the fact that, and I remember even when like Nina, she was trying to like use Jocelyn's infidelity with Cameron to get
Yes.
her to be like, you and I are the same,
Like you,
Sunny and
oh, it's so
me,
gross.
and I'm like, what are you doing? And then you have Willow trying to do the same thing. And I love how like Joss pointed to the nuance. I wasn't married. Like I was dating a guy in high school. And then I stayed with Dex and then he died. And I didn't realize it at the time when she started at Willow is that Joss is also coming from a place of grief, meaning I don't get to be with the person I love, and you have the person you love, and look at what you did, and you took it
Yes.
for granted. So, like,
Yes.
there's that layer there too. But like everything she said, calling her out, being like, he doesn't want to see you. And then she's like, first of all, your brother filed for the divorce. I'm like, that was after you went to DC to
Yes. Thank
continue
you
what you
very
started.
much.
Remember, he
Hmm.
didn't ask for a divorce when you cheated on him while you were married. Like everything she was saying did not make any sense. And the fact that she actually felt like she had a leg to stand on, like she couldn't have just said, like, look, I know I hurt your brother. I'm not proud of what I did, but I
Yeah.
care
Be
about him.
human.
But she took the road same as Drew of just really like they're like what I did was fine. It was actually really complicated. It's not as detailed of the pattern that you're laying it out for me right now. It was phenomenal, calling her names, calling her out on her pattern,
Oh, it
everything
was
that she said
beautiful.
that was so real, everything that he gave her. And I can't wait to see who you leave Drew for next. And her, not
Oh,
only that,
hot
you didn't call
damn.
her on just the cheating, but that you're obsessed with being saved and finding yourself a little hero. And then I wish Jocelyn was there when Willow ran to Drew, be like, help me. Like, Nina didn't even finish giving her information. And she immediately was like, Drew, you can save me, literally proving her point.
Um, I'm going to give an early start to Nina's eye roll when she ran to Drew to give him a hug.
Absolutely. But when Nina walked in, this is how I felt. She's like, Jocelyn, oh, don't talk to her like that. She's like, you're just like your mother. And I'm like, on it, like, again, I see Jocelyn like a teenager, right? Like, you look at
Yes.
that story and she's like in the younger category. And I loved everything. She like Joss didn't miss a beat. That's what I mean. I'm like, Nina, you
Love
truly
it.
feel the need to like this is how like delicate Willow is. She's like, I'm strong. Why does everyone feel the need to protect me? Because you let them. Like you let them.
Yeah,
You do not
totally.
stand on your own 2 feet. And Nina shows up, and I'm sure you're happy to have someone on your side, but you didn't say, Nina, I got this. You know
No,
what I
not at
mean?
all. She
You
like ran to
want
her mommy.
you want them to be respectful and be family to you, but you're not honoring your history with her. You didn't just hurt Michael, you hurt everybody that let you in. And I feel like she
Yes.
couldn't own that as like, let's like, look, they were not that close, but let's just say like the older sister. She didn't
Hmm.
honor her role that she took on when she married Michael as like this older sibling type to Jocelyn
Yeah,
in that
totally.
moment, kind of like the way like Carly has done it for Sam, or all those situations where you stand there and you take someone else's stuff because you kind of know you have to, like you just gotta,
Yeah,
you take your
totally.
lumps. And she didn't do that, you know what I mean? And she allowed, I'm like, you really feel that you need protect, like Nina, you feel the need to protect Willow from Jocelyn. And I loved how she flipped every insult. You're just like your mother, thank you. And I could say the same about Willow. And when she called them both out on their stuff, and then to hear Nina, this was the only Ninaing she did do, where she's like, they're all so awful. They're not compassionate or empathetic at all. They're just bullies. And I'm like,
Like, yeah, okay.
and what did you think with what we'll end up doing once Drew came in and gave her an idea? Because that's, where all her ideas and brain thoughts come from. Drew's brain.
I am disgusted. I
Yeah,
cannot wait for Carly and Sunny to get to Diane because Diane is going to lose her shit. Am I allowed to say that on this podcast?
sure.
Because that was just truly unbelievable. Like, even though Nina was standing there, she doesn't really believe in what is happening right now.
No, and that's what I mean. For Nina to be in that mess, being like, I don't want to lose you, Willow, because if I take a step back, this thing, because that's why, like, everyone's worried about Willow because everyone, including Ava, Rick, everyone, like they're there at Christmas Eve being like, ew, what's up with her? Like, is she like 12? Like, why can't she see him as a person? Like everyone sees the hero worship and they see that she's just lost right now. But again, it's Willow's journey to be on. She's
Yes.
this time there is actually more consequences to what she was doing. Last time, with Chase, yeah, like it was awkward, but doing it this time, there are way more
Way
consequences to
more.
the situation. And like, I don't know, like even Nina's like, she's not going to do that. And for me, I'm like, look, do what you're going to do. They have Diane. Yes, you want to use this
Hmm.
as leverage, but why wouldn't Diane report it? Why would Diane
Exactly.
indulge this little game? Like, why wouldn't Diane use this? Because the thing is, remember, if the judge granted custody, they don't like that Carly like okayed it. And look, frankly, like that's not what Michael ever wanted, but
Yeah.
he's not there. Everyone's mad. Remember, you know what? That is kind of interesting, right? Michael was always the peacemaker, kept things calm, and now we took the
Yes.
calm and now we're going to get a storm.
Oh, big time.
Um, and so it's really interesting because I'm like, well, how will this play out? Because I don't know what to think. Because at one point, it just felt like Drew and Willow were kind of winning and that there was no consequences to what they were doing. And honestly, I really felt like Carly and all of them were going to lose the kids. So I'm like, okay, so now they have the kids back. They literally took the kids. Like, well, even Willow was saying it, but they don't have their dad or their mom. I'm like, yeah, I know it's pretty cold. I get it. Logically, me too. I really,
I
really
know,
didn't think he
yeah.
would lose them. But when Diane showed up and like Diane's happy, like
Damn.
she's hated Nina. Like anytime she gets to twist the knife with Nina, she's like ready. And the fact that she's like, well, where's Willow? I'll explain it to her. I was just
So good. So good.
everything. And I love that Chase was there just because like, the kids know him and they live
Yeah.
together. But yeah, so I kind of wonder like what will Diane do with it? Like I hope Carly just keeps her cool and leaves. Um, but like how long can Willow stomach doing this?
The thing is, we saw that scene and the way it ended today.
Hmm. Yeah.
The what is it called? The Digitalis.
Yeah.
It should have its own scene, its own like little star at the beginning of the
Hmm.
show. So he put that in there.
Yeah.
So does that mean they're going to stop the heart attack? Are they going to catch it in time? Is this going to be a situation where he's pretend dead so they can catch Cyrus and make him believe that he did
No,
indeed kill Michael?
he's certainly not going to be pretend anything, Michael. Like this is like Michael's not in on anything. Um, so the thing
No,
is,
but
what I was
everybody else has to be in on it, meaning they catch him, they come up with this plan beforehand because they realize everybody's being killed in the hospital. Michael has nothing to do with it. He just gets swooped off to the burn center.
look, I think whatever Cyrus does won't fully work the way it did with everyone else. I think there will be a
Mm-hmm.
hiccup, but I think he'll survive it. Mostly, honestly, this is just based on the interview Michael gave, right?
Okay. Yes.
That's why I'm saying that because he said the door was left open. So to me, whatever they do, I'm assuming like there's room to come back. So you're not full
Mm-hmm.
blown dead. The other thing is, when I had saw the previews for this week, there was one scene that I didn't see play out.
Oh,
So
with
I am
Dr. Gannon?
concerned. Yeah. So when he's talking to Portia, so now it's
Yep.
like Elizabeth is cleared because another Digitalis incident happened. So we had that preemption. So like I don't know. Like I don't know if like for real, because that's the thing. I'm like, well, if he's dead, it's like nice leverage there, Willow. Like part
Well,
of
that's
me
all I'm saying,
just
right?
to make it suck for Willow, it's like okay, but maybe he's not dead. We don't know. But I mean, like I'm just saying my guess is based on like the preview of like recognizing that another Digitalis incident happened and the interview Chad Dull did. I'm just going to assume he's just like incapacitated and maybe really hanging on for dear life. And at which point,
Yes.
like, I don't really know how much decision Willow could have. But given that there's a custody battle and having say over a life or death decision, I mean, I just feel like that's something like if they don't think you're fit to take the kids, like, you know what I mean? Like, the court decided she wasn't fit to have them. So I
Yes.
feel like they would hear stuff like this, like the role that she's in now and how she's using it. Because if anything, like, if you don't use this well,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like that will work against her because right now the court in the eyes of the court, it's fine what happened, right? A case was
Yes.
presented and the
Mm-hmm.
court was like, yeah, the kids are better off in their home without you. Like they actually felt it was knowing Michael's situation that it was best to take the kids away from Willow and put them back in their home. So that's why, like, even though you're playing this game in the eyes of
Mm-hmm.
the court, as crappy as it is, Carly and Sunny, they are winning. Like, Carly's winning right now. The fact that they
Yes.
granted this, given the situation, they're winning. So Willow can play those games. So I just feel logically, but it's a soap. So I don't think they're going to go logically. But as long as you have Diane,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know that what Willow's doing is going to work in her favor.
I don't think so. I think because at the end of the day, what she's trying to do is get leverage. At the end, she has to at some point say, which everybody's going to catch her on, that she's going to be recorded or Diane's going to be there and hear it, whatever. She's going to have to leverage Michael's health to see her children. How is she going to get that without saying the words out loud and that not being used against her?
Yeah, but it's just, what's sad about her little brain is how easily it is to plant ideas. Like she's
Oh
like
boy.
the whole like all the scenes that we had with her. I would never do that. I love Michael. I love Michael. I would never keep. I'm keeping. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Drew spoke. I'm gonna walk out and I'm gonna swoop in and be like, I'm Michael's wife. And I'm like, that's so gross. Do you even feel
Gross, so
comfortable
gross.
saying that
Right? Well,
after
she's still
what you
wearing the
did?
ring.
Oh gosh.
The ring is magical. It erases all things
It's
after
like
they
I
happen.
love the drama, the story. Like I don't like feeling the angst that I did in the Nina times.
Yeah, I agree.
And even like the Molly Christina times, some of them was harsh and it mellowed. So I don't like
Mhm.
that angst.
Yes, I totally get it.
Lucas's reaction was pretty good. It's interesting to see, like, for me, like, I don't know about you, but I felt like for the first time in a while, well, maybe since the line she kind of drew with Christina, that Alexis treats Christina like Sunny does, a little less delicate.
Yes, I like that a lot.
So I think that's good. Um Cyrus is being a weirdo with Isaiah. How does it feel to play God? And Isaiah's like, ew, dude, I'm a doctor. What's wrong with you?
I
I'm
love
not on a
Brett's
power trip.
right, but I love Brad's moment. I love that he was able to say what he needed to say. Like that was unbelievable because Cyrus was trying to keep his eyeballs in his head, like, and Brad was going off. It was awesome. What
Because
do you think?
Johnny's like, what is he talking about? I'm like, well, Cyrus did try to kill Britt. He tried to leave her for dead, and that's when she went on the run. I'm like, that did happen in the hospital. Like, I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
traumatizing for staff to have him back. Like, I'm just saying, if you want to help people, just be a little bit more sensitive. But we know that that's not what Cyrus is trying to do. And I know it's bad. I want to come back to Brad, but it reminds me of like Drew.
Mhm.
He had the choice when he walked into that chapel to walk back out. That's being the bigger person. The bigger person is not talking in that like soothing voice of his, saying mean things, being like, "You insulted me, Carly, so I want you to know you played a big role in Michael's burning." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Like
it was
it's so
just it was
awful.
so terrible because like what because when we talked about the overlay earlier, because I told Johnny, I'm like, it's happened a lot in the past where there's an overlay of maybe an explosion and then like maybe a hookup, a wedding. Like they have done that, but they've never done one as graphic as this. Like they show like the
No.
bright lights and it's an explosion, but you don't see like bodily harm. Like literally they're like rolling around in the bed and Michael is like on fire.
Yeah, it was messed up.
It was brutal, but Brad, I mean, I was like, Brad, like, and I'm watching because like Portia still looked annoyed at Brad. Like she still
I
looked
know. Like,
kind of
come on.
irritated that like how dare you have feelings about people you love? Only I love people I love. And but then like Lucas being like, Brad, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, Brad, if you don't want to die, like I just wouldn't. Like I just wouldn't. So I don't know. Like I will say this. I like it when a character can come in and make it his own. Like I always felt that way when Billy Miller played Drew, like the character. I felt that when
Yes, yes.
he came in and like he came in starting out as Jason. I liked his version of Jason. And I liked that. I like that you can come in, I know that you're Jason and I like that you made it your own. And with like even Nina, like when they changed the Ninas, she came in and she kind of made it her own thing and I loved it. And I feel like with this new Lucas, again, always love for the original Lucas. I thought again, no voiceover, what are you thinking?
I
And then
know.
this recast has been really hard, but I like that he's doing his own Lucas. Like I know who he is. It's very different from
Hmm.
the last one, but I like that he's made it his own. And like I see the chemistry with him and Brad, and I'm like really invested.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of like the lighter stories I can get behind is them together. No love stories surrounding Anna can I get behind, but I have to say, like, she's just so desperate. Like, anytime she can get around Carly, you could tell, like, she just wants her to be her friend. And then
Yes.
when Brennan came and he was like immediately wanting to offer help, and Anna was like, I'm like, I'm surprised you didn't cry. And she was just like, you're gonna help? I'm like, it's not for you. Like he's not helping because you're local police, because you're Anna Banana, because you did the WSB together. He's helping because it's Carly's son.
100%.
How can we forget Jen's?
Oh
Damn,
my word.
like, can I just say, damn it, Lucy? Like, damn it.
Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
very much. Say more.
oh gosh, she's just Lucy all up the place. But I
All
kind
over
of was
her.
like, I love it because I have the book. I have the travel guide and I
I know.
read it
I was so
sometimes.
proud.
Yeah. And so when he was there, he bought Windermere. I'm like, how does the WSB not know? And then
Yes,
he's
thank you
learning
very
all about
much.
the Spencers. So like he's there, and we know she brought up the fact that he has like was he married?
Hmm.
And it's really funny because it connects back to Lucy. That's her business partner, like business. She's in business with Natalia.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
it's something that everybody was like, no, that can't be. That's not a thing. Brook Lynn admits she was pregnant and gave up her baby.
Yes, and that scene was pretty incredible. Like
Yeah.
Lois said all the right things. I love her character and how she is with Brooklyn. I love that we finally have confirmation. But what I can't wait to see is how is Lois going to explain that she's known all this time who Geo is?
I know, because you said she said all the right things, and I'm like, yeah, she did. But but like she kind of left at the part like, it's nobody's business, not even yours that I took your baby and gave it to a close friend. But I just like I was just really feeling for Brooklyn. I was really sucked into that scene, and I was trying to talk to her, and I was like, it's not a big deal. You could tell Chase that like now that you're trying, something's come up that you've never told anyone except
Yes.
your mom, and you need to
And
get it off your
Dante.
chest. Yeah. And I'm like, because that's the hard part, because it's like he could be like
I know.
shocked, being like, whoa. He's like, look, like it's a traumatic thing for me. It's something I pretend never happened, but now I'm kind of
Yeah.
feeling like I'm paying the price. But it's just that the Dante thing kind of makes it so
So bad.
present.
So
Also,
bad.
the
Yeah.
fact that Dante and Brooklyn are living with their son makes it so
So bad.
real.
Oh,
So
that see, those are
good.
like the underlying happy
Yes.
little B type drama that I'm up for right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm
Mhm.
just saying, I blocked out like when you tried to revisit what happened at the end, like with Michael. I was like, tell me more about this whole Willow thing. And like facility, right? Like long-term facility.
Long-term
I I
facility.
I blocked out the fact that like Cyrus struck again. And I'm gonna block it out, and then I'll be shocked on Monday when I watch it.
Well, you know what? To help with like the funnies,
Hmm.
I have two of my favorite lines here that I think you will enjoy.
Okay.
So when Jason and Carly had their conversation, Jason's like, I already beat up Drew. Do you want me to fly on a plane up to DC and beat him up again?
Yes, yes,
But it's just the tone too that he used, just like so matter of fact.
yes.
And she's like, yes. And then Jocelyn, when she was talking to Willow and Nina, it's like, you're a bunch of lying liars who lie.
But that's what I mean. She's young. Like she's like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. My favorite was like the calculation, which is like, do you know what you get when you marry a cheating wife? A cheating wife. I was like, that was
It was so good.
gold.
So
Gold.
good.
My favorite is like everything Alexis says to Rick is just phenomenal. But
Gold, gold.
this is what she said to Christina, because she's like, Michael's always been the sane one in our family. And Alexis is like, I hope you're talking about your father's side. It was like such a dire, serious situation. You just lost Sam. Michael's like burned. He could die. And she worked that line in. I thought that was everything. And my other favorite one comes from Joss, when she's like, you know what, Joss? Like this is Willow taking the high road. And I loved it. There's no road you could take out of that situation with Joss. And I just want to say, Joss tried to walk away, and Willow pulled her
Yes.
back in to convince her that she was a good person. And,
Yes.
like when she says, you can call me any names you want, she's like, be careful what you wish for.
So good. So freaking good.
So good.
There's stars all over the place. Like,
All over
do
the
you wanna
place.
throw your stars out first?
Jocelyn, are you kidding me? She spoke for
I
the
know.
masses. She said all the things. They
All
were
the
just hit
things.
after hit after hit. Willow could just stand there with her blank face. I'm like, how can you just stand there blankly? And then she's like, Joss, it's complicated. I'm like, dude, she like nailed you. You don't understand. Like
So did everybody else, but it was just
but she totally, got her, right? Like there was
yes.
like these weren't shallow insults. She called you on your crap. Oh God, it was phenomenal. I'm gonna give a star to Diane, because I feel like Diane was happy getting to serve
Yes.
Nina, and I'm happy that Diane got to have
Me
that moment.
too.
Um, I'm gonna say, look, I huge star to Jason and his eyes and the
Oh, big
flashback,
time.
and
Hmm.
Michael, Sasha, whoa, hormones, pregnancy hormones.
Indeed. Sure. Yeah.
Emotional, because I'm like, this is interesting, because she's like, I mean, look, this supports her point. She wanted to keep her baby safe, but if she sees the family suffering, like I was telling Johnny, I'm like, it
Yeah.
would be really cool. Like, what if like Sasha like just tells Carly and Carly keeps the secret and they could be like happy with like Michael's baby. And it's just like a secret. Because another thing that I kind of noticed was like that Bobby Spencer Felicia bond. So like notice because like
Yes.
remember when like they were wrapping the Bobby farewell story and then you have Carly and Felicia and you're kind of like okay and then you forget like there's like a deep history with like Bobby and Felicia. They were family obviously once
Yes.
and it was really amazing watching Felicia and Carly hash out their stuff. And then we have seen scenes, right, with Felicia having Carly's back when she thought somebody was tailing her, and then Joss
Yes.
being pulled in. So I really do think, like, going back to like what I think they're trying to do is calling on nostalgia. And to me, it's just like adding love on top of love, taking all that old
Yeah.
stuff that was really good and just giving life back into what already existed. And I think they really are strengthening the bond between the Spencers and like Felicia's family. That's what I'm like seeing there.
I love that. And I love the idea of Carly knowing about this baby and being able to help her, right?
Well, it's just, because think of it, like that really draws in that family. Like Maxie was saying Michael was really good to her, and we once thought them to, but there was just a bond. Like
Yeah.
Maxie always had a bond with the Corinthos family, and this makes it official. And so it would really bring, right, the like Scorpios and like Carly together in this way. And the thing is, like Sasha was cemented within that family day one. Like the moment
Oh, yeah.
Michael ran to Carly to be like, Sasha cheated on me. Carly's like, wow, she sacrificed her relationship for you to save Wiley. Like she knew immediately. And from
Yeah.
that moment on, you show that family any sense of loyalty. Sasha was a star to them and they would do anything for her. So she's always really been she's has a big place in their lives, and I'm just curious to see what's going to happen now. But like wow, like there's definitely going to be a lot of fallout from Michael's absence.
Oh, big time. Oh my gosh. I'm going to give a star to the elevator who made the dinging noise that jogged Felicia's memory.
Thank you. Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. Like, I was like, I can't believe how quickly that got solved. Brennan's like, I'm going to drop a few breadcrumbs. He's like, wow, Anna has done nothing but avoid breadcrumbs her whole career. And there's Joss, you know? I gave her a
Just picking
list.
up
She
those
found,
crumbs.
yeah. And then Felicia's like, I immediately got my memory back. It was incredible.
I loved it. So many stars this week. What an incredible amount of drama that happened. And I am most definitely looking forward to next week.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, folks, we're back. We're here. We did
Yeah.
it. Have a fantastic weekend. That's a wrap, folks. Bye.
Bye.